in Miami this week at Social Media Week, learning a lot. I know I have. So my name's Andy Amendola. I'm the Director of Digital and Social Media Strategy at The Community. The Community, for those of you who don't know who we are, we're a mid-sized full-service agency just up the street in Biscayne Boulevard. And we're part of the Sapient family as well. And we're here to talk about innovation in social media. But a little bit about our agency. We'd like to think of ourselves not as a multicultural agency, but an agency that's marketing to the multicultural world that we live in today. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But we're here to talk about innovation, and we're going to do that through two case studies we have. We worked with Facebook Live on one and Twitter emoji targeting on the other, two very new platforms and technologies. And we're going to talk about how we manage the risks and the challenges that happened with them and how we succeeded with those. But for now, let me shut up and let you guys meet the team we have here. Rod, why don't you?
Hey, Rodrigo Butori. I'm a creative vice president.
Hi, guys. I'm Natalie Rojas. I'm a copywriter at The Community.
Hi, I'm Raimi Law, and I'm an art director at The Community, working with Natalie.
Hi, my name is Andy Murillo. I'm the producer that kept this thing together for 30 days straight.
All right, great. Before we jump into the cases that we want to talk about, we wanted to show you our agency approach to innovation and to culture, and that'll really kind of set up what we're going to talk about later. So I'm going to pass it over to Rod to walk you through that.
We are an agency, and again, like many other agencies, we have cool offices, and yes, we have super cool, Swordfish, and our staffing on table, which is sometimes a beer on table. Like all the good agencies, we have agency dogs walking around, that's what this one. Like those agencies, we can speak super fast to the agency that you have seen. Guess what? We also work with celebrities, OMG, we have tons of charts showing how crazy effective we are. That is line. This is a gold pencil. You see, just like the best agencies, we want a ton of that's the works. It's like those great agencies, we have creatives, of course, we're like homeless hipsters, which brings us to the two ways we're not like any other agency. Our people, our work. Everyone talks about their people, but ours are different because we understand the culture of the new multi-everything America, because we are that new multi-everything America. Our big difference, probably the biggest difference, is our work. Not surprisingly, is work that impacts culture. Like any agency, we won't be able to brag all about it, but we're the community. We like to talk about it in person, speak.
All right. Let's talk about things in a normal speed. So, like Andy was saying, we are creative agencies for a multicultural world, right? So it's very common for people to look at, Hispanic agents or multicultural agencies and go like, yeah, you guys only do Hispanic work, you guys only do multicultural world. But the truth is like, better? Yeah. How do I do this? All right. So the truth is, we have agencies in three, places right now, New York, Miami, and Buenos Aires, and it's 200 of us, coming from all kinds of corners of the world. And when we say we're multicultural, clicker. Sorry. Oh, there we go. I think we like to think of ourselves and the people that we speak with too. Not like where you're coming from. I think all of us, most of us here, come from a different place. Come from Brazil. Somebody comes from Venezuela. Somebody comes from, Japan. And people think of multicultural as that, right? Like it's where you're coming from. And for us, it's not about that. It's where you're going, right? It's about all the things that make you, all the passions, all your likes, all of your tastes. That is for us. It's not working. Yeah, sorry. So little problems here. Yeah, that's for us what makes multicultural. So if you're a gamer, if you're an athlete, if you're an artist, those are the things, that's the kind of culture that we believe we should be targeting to, that we believe that brands should be tagging themselves to. So not like Hispanic, not Japanese, not like what I'm talking in terms of language, but what I'm talking about. So we like to call that cultural fluidity, right? Like we believe that brands should be playing that game. They should be tagging themselves to these particular nuances and to these particular moments on which people become a gamer, then become a soccer player, then become a Brazilian, then become an American because of their work. But that game, that play is where we like to have fun with. So today we believe that a huge part of that space, a huge part of that game is happening, in culture, and you have to follow that. You have to be at the speed of that. And today, to be at the speed of culture, you have to be in social media. That's basically the space on which culture is happening, right? Which all these conversations about all these passion points are happening. And to embrace social media, you have to embrace innovation. That's just the nature of that. And when you do embrace updates and you do embrace innovation, you have to be like up to speed with Facebook Live. You have to speed with emojis or facial recognition and other good stuff. So a huge part of that cultural fluidity of being in sync with what people are doing today is to be in touch with innovation. And as you guys know, when you embrace innovation, you have to be ready for the unknown and ready for problems. So today is very much about that, about projects that we did and the kind of issues that we found and how we walked around those issues. We have a bunch of clients at the office, BMW, Modelo, Verizon, Corona, a bunch of them. But today we're going to be talking about two of them, like Andy was saying, which is Verizon and Corona. So,
Great. Before we jump into Verizon, just give you a little background on the brand. So everyone knows what Verizon is. It's been in the headlines a lot lately. All the telecoms have. There's the battle for network superiority. But when we did research on our target, which was the Hispanic millennial, what we found is that they already know that Verizon has the best network. That's not the problem they have. Their problem is that what they told us is Verizon is not a brand for me. They didn't find it relatable to them. It wasn't a brand, that was accessible to them, that spoke to them. So that was one of the big challenges that we had. We really had to change perception with this audience. And, in order to do that, it requires us to be innovative, to be relevant to them, and a bunch of other, buzzwords and cliches. But, we thought about this for a long time. A lot of ideas, we pitched ideas, we thought of things. But when Facebook Live rolled around, and it launched in April, that really was a light went off on the creative team. It was the best way to showcase, our brand to our consumers and do it in a relatable way. So I'm going to pass it over to Rod and the team to talk about how that idea came to life.
as you guys know, Facebook Live is a fairly new thing, right? And when we embraced that, which was 3 months ago, was even newer. So the idea here, come on, clicker. It's a personal problem. So this was what we had to face, right? So you had Hispanics, which honestly didn't care so much, millennial specialists didn't care so much about Verizon. So we had to find a way of highlighting them, talk about them in a way that felt like, okay, yeah, this brand's for me, right? So we thought about a phone. It was like, okay, there's something about a phone that it's quite unique, right? When you think about your phone, it's one of the things that capture the most of you, right? It has your pictures, it has your messages, it has your favorite apps. It's kind of a window into who you are. So we thought about, what if we have this phone who's going to be passing around, from influencer to influencer, people that are a big part of this community, and highlight their lives, highlight what they're all about. So basically, Verizon Network celebrating the Hispanics network through one phone moving around. So it was 30 days, 30 influencers, and one phone moving around. So for 30 days, we had this phone that started with one person doing Facebook Live, talking about what they were, and we had challenges, that they had to basically fulfill. And then next day they will give the phone to the next person and so forth. So we did that in Miami, we did that in Chicago, we did that in LA, and we did that in New York. It was a very interesting thing. It was 15 live streams, 15 mini docs, so half and half. But it was, at the end of the day, it was 30 pieces of really fun and interesting content. And you guys go like, yeah, that's an easy thing to do. And it wasn't the case at all. It was very, very complicated, and we had to face a lot of challenges. And again, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So this is what we learned, right? That's what we got out of this. The first thing is planning. I mean, when it comes to Facebook Live, and especially something so ambitious like 30 days of that, of so many documentaries and new people and fresh content, you have to plan. So I'm going to pass that to the ladies here, to our producer, to talk a little bit.
Hey. So naturally, you make this wall of stuff, and you know it's going to change, but you still have to do it, and you look at it every day, and as Andy will tell you, it never stayed the same.
Hello,
It was-
hello. Yeah, I mean, basically, on a production, we shoot maybe 2 or 3 days every month or two or something. This was 20 shoot days in a span of 30 days in 4 different cities. So after I had my mental breakdown, I started putting this together with the team, and it was a lot of fun. Learned about 30 different Latinos, and just basically, like Rod said, everything you can plan for. I'm a very structured person, and everything you can plan for, forget about it, because everything can happen. Weather, some people backed out at the last minute. You just have to go with the flow, and that was where I basically had to change my way and help everyone here pull it off. And it was amazing. I had a great time.
I think we had 150 people interview for this, and we nailed, to 30. And it was actually 45 because, to Andy's point, like some people gave up in the last minute, and it was always a surprise. But also, it was not only that. We had to connect these people through passion. So, like we said, if you are a surfer and you like painting, the next guy was a painter who used to a skateboarder. Then the next guy was a skateboarder who was a Formula One racer. So it was kind of like always connecting passions. So not just planning who they were, but also how we would connect them. And again, the cities were kind of like a big hurdle on that.
Yeah, and also from a casting standpoint, this isn't something like I need a model, beautiful, 6 foot tall. This is a totally different way of thinking about casting, and we had very little time to do it, but we managed to find 30 very interesting people from all different kinds of Latino countries, and that was definitely a big hurdle to get over, but we were able to do it. So it's all about just collaborating together with an amazing production company out of New York called Missing Pieces, and yeah.
And how'd you guys go about choosing who would be live, who wouldn't be live? How'd that process go? You hear me?
Choosing who was right for live,
Yeah.
it's all about what they do at that point. You have to know, sometimes they might have a lot of followers, but you have to make sure what they're doing is going to be engaging the whole way through. It's not always going to be someone talking, and live is hard. We're right here, and I'm having trouble going live. But you have to make sure that they're either able to go for it, or what they're doing is a performance, and people are going to want to watch it from point A to, until it's done.
Some of the more involved things like underwater shark diving naturally couldn't be live to show the best of them.
Yeah, this was live, right?
That's me getting hit in the face with a ball by a professional surfer.
No, I have a question for you, Andy. When it comes to production, right? We used to do super big productions with clients for TV commercials, and it's quite a lot of budget. In this case, it was 30 mini productions, and you had to divide the budget amongst all those 30 guys. So how was that project, or that particular process?
The key thing was finding the right production company. I got a lot of, sorry we can't kind of answers, but you just keep researching and researching, and we found a great company out of New York, like I said earlier. But it's just a matter of, working those long hours and bringing some new vendors to the table to find the right fit. And luckily, the director we found, he totally knows the social media world 100 times better than I do, and he was able to help collaborate with us and pull this off. The one thing I'll say about Facebook Live, right before we started, there are some nasty things going on Facebook Live in the news world in real life, and so we were right about to go live, and then we kind of had to rethink, hey, is this the best thing to do? But time passed, and then we just had to be alert to any major Facebook Live or any actually major news event, right, and deal with it, whether we go dark for a day or two. But I guess we got lucky kind of in 30 days, nothing major happened.
One last thing before I go to the next point was the process of making the films. So some of them were live, right? So live is live, but some of them were recorded, right? So And we had to record today to be live tomorrow, record today this morning to be live in the afternoon. So we had to have a team of 2 editors traveling with us. So we were in 5 or 6 at that point, plus the director, plus 2 editors, plus a colorist. And that team was like 24 hours. So like when one person finished, the next person started, and so forth. So planning for that, you know, and it was quite a challenge too, because it's also like planning for sleeping, planning for meals, planning for all that stuff. So the team functions for 30 days in that particular role.
Well, getting into the actual, you know, video content, you know, how did you keep people engaged? How did, you know, like, how did people react to the live videos? Was it good? Was it bad? Like, what happened?
I think one thing we learned, and that's again part of working with something so new, was that 8-minute mark, right? So basically, like, Facebook Live starts really like working, starts really counting, starts really marking views and becoming relevant after 8 minutes. So you have to create content and hooks and ways of having people like coming in or stay, or new people coming for 8 minutes. And that on itself, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah, it's amazing. Facebook came out with this beta product, which was live while live, and that means while it's going live, it can promote out to everyone. And we were the first brand to do it with Verizon, and that was really cool. But coming up with those key moments that keeps the video engaging to up to 8 minutes, but then having to keep going is key, because we ended up with a recommendation of 15 to 20 minutes. So how are you going to have someone keep talking? How do you make sure that throughout the process, new people come in the entire time? You get people that come in at 1 minute, you get people that come in at 10 minutes. How do you make sure they know what's going on and, you know, keep things interesting?
In this case, you want to talk about this particular one? It was interesting.
We tried to set mini goals, and sometimes we were able to actually get users involved in deciding some of the variables that would happen in the video. So in this case, we had, based on the emojis that they could respond with, we had them be able to choose what type of filling he would make these awesome donuts with.
Yeah, another thing, if you go back one slide, it was like prepping the people that we work with. So a big part of that was getting them ready to do this. I mean, it's not easy to be live. You know, some people are good on camera, they're natural. Some people are not. And a lot of these people that have a huge amount of followers, they're bloggers, you know, they are skaters or whatever, but they are not necessarily camera people. So we had to like school them a little bit on what the project was all about and get them excited about it. So there was a huge part of that preparation, feeding them with interesting things. So in that case, we made a booklet, a personalized booklet, explaining the idea with their pictures, talking about how they were, you know, special and what they were doing for the Hispanic community. We also gave them T-shirts. We also had them like sitting with us before. So again, also there was enough content for them to talk about during the pieces.
And how much of the content was actually scripted, or was it, you know, how much was just improvised? Like, how did that work?
Well, we would go in, so every single day we had a very loose script written for the talent so that they can like kind of sit in the beginning and go over lines. But when you meet them, you realize, oh wait, this person doesn't talk the way that I just wrote for them. I need to rewrite this entire script to be in their tone of voice, or I need to work with them to find words that are comfortable for them. Some of them, yeah, are English as a second language. They speak really well, but what I wrote doesn't come out perfect. So it's about working with talent and also preparing that. You don't want to go in completely blind, but you don't also want to overload them with information, because once you hit live, they're nervous. It doesn't matter if they're practiced or not, and they'll forget lines, but you just gotta, you know, make it easy for them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much we rehearsed. Once that 3, 2, 1 Facebook Live starts, some people just panic. I know I would, but it doesn't matter how much you rehearse. It's kind of nerve-wracking. And then you got the comments coming in, and sometimes, you know, some are funny, some are rude, but for the most part, they're all positive. And a big thanks to Verizon for just letting us put 30 Latinos out there that range from a beekeeper to this crazy contortionist to Juan Pablo Montoya, who was amazing.
All right. I think the next point was an interesting one, which is the idea of like a king doesn't always bring richness. I think when it comes to social media, we're so used to like the idea of like, okay, let's put our brand, to work with like, influencers that have the most views or have the most followers, and that's it. Like that's basically, your classic shampoo endorsement, right? It's like, oh yeah, I have gray hairs, I use this shampoo, and this is not necessarily a good thing. Not necessarily the people that have the most followers are the ones that are going to give you the most interesting content when it comes to video. So we learned that the hard way, like some people that had quite a lot of like following, the videos were just not interesting. And some people like, the Beekeeper, it was one of the best things we have. And the guy necessarily wasn't a gigantic star. I mean, he became a big thing after the video, but it wasn't his thing. So that was a big learning for us.
Yeah, and it's to learn who do you pick your fights for. So I remember like that client call where we actually know the Beekeeper is going to be cool. Trust us, the Beekeeper is cool. And they're like, no. And we ended up getting to choose him as a backup. So when someone bailed, because people will always bail, we brought the Beekeeper in, and his video did, the night before on the call, and we brought him in, and it did really well. It had only like positive, like one of our most positive engaged videos, which is so important.
One of the major things that we wanted to accomplish was like to show diversity, to have this huge range of people with all these passions, and we couldn't have 30 DJs.
Yeah.
It was really important to fight for those people with niche professions.
So yeah, I think the big message here is like when you're thinking of live, think of the content first, not the person that you're highlighting as like, oh, that's a superstar. It's like, it doesn't matter. If the person that has something to show live, like you're losing money.
Just being photogenic doesn't necessarily mean you're charismatic, so.
Yeah. I think the next point was the imperfection, right? I think the beautiful thing about live is that, and we knew that kind of before we started, but it became pretty clear as we went through it. So we have people like throwing like F-bombs, by accident in the middle of the thing, or even like this guy, he made basically like a bet with people. It was just like, okay, if you ask me a question and I answer it, correctly, I have to score, a point. And he took him like 10.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is that in his interview to get casted, we asked, what are you an expert at? And he was like, free throws. So we naturally were like, all right, let's have him do free throws live. He says he's an expert. He's also a rapper. Let's make it interesting. Give a challenge. So, we said if you miss too many free throws, you're going to have to freestyle live. And, well, he missed almost every single free throw, so he freestyled.
So you have to imagine the client ourselves like cringing, watching that and go like, oh my God, this is fucked. Like, like what we're going to do? And people were loving it. Like the more he missed, the more people were engaging with it, exactly because people love mistakes. It's just human,
Honestly, like, all of the missed shots made the baskets worth watching, but it would have been nice if he at least got in the shot that he dedicated to his grandma.
Like, this is for you, Nana. Oh, sorry.
And just from a production standpoint, my advice would be very cautious when working with rappers because they naturally like to curse. And no matter how many times I told them, two of them, I think just one of them, but she dropped like an F-bomb live because she forgot a lyric, and I don't know. Just be careful if you work with rappers.
This one was my favorite thing of the whole project. We were live and we're shooting the skater, and the producer she's the one running behind the filmer. See over there? Like she was like running like crazy behind, and she's like live, and it's like, oh my God, she's trying to get like people to sign papers and making sure no accidents happen, and she's on camera. So it was genius, people were loving that, But look at that, she's like amazing.
Andy, how did you actually shoot all these videos? Were they done off a phone? Did you have a camera, a mix? How did it work?
The live ones were on an iPhone. We realized quickly that was the best medium. And then the pre-recorded was like as you would do a normal shoot with a higher grade camera.
Got it.
But the iPhone was the best one to choose. And we had some different lenses to use as well on the iPhone 6s.
Boom.
Yeah. And this is just the importance of getting releases because, so for this example, we're in the pre-recorded videos, and when we're in the edit room, you don't think about it. You're getting these beautiful shots. You send it to legal, and they're like, you need to blur every single person. You need to blur that sign, blur that person, blur that thing, and if it takes running around a skate park to get the releases because they're going to save you so much blurring time.
And just
So
to give you
important.
some perspective, usually we'll shoot a day and then edit for a week or two. This was shoot, edit that night, maybe in the morning, and get it on air like the next day or 2 days later. And that was, I mean, we had to split up. And while some of us were shooting some items, there was other editors working. So that's how quick it had to happen.
So we just got the results. I mean, this was basically July and August, right, until mid-August, and we're starting to get the results as the process, we're finishing it. We reached like almost 22 million views, and this was like at that time, 126 million impressions. So it was quite successful. When you start dividing by the number of videos we had and how much each one of them got, this was the largest, Verizon ever got, in terms of brand recognition, and likability for the brand, and we're quite, happy with that.
Right. At the end of the day, our goal was to close that knot for me gap with millennials, and what this did was actually, raise the favorability of the brand with exactly that target. So, for us, that was a huge success.
Big win.
Now we're going to jump into Twitter emojis. So lately, all of you have seen Twitter roll out all these new features to try to make the platform more accessible to people and advertisers too. I mean, last night they, aired a live NFL game. So they're really trying to make that platform more cool. One of the features that came out over the summer was Twitter emoji targeting. Basically, you could target your consumer using a specific emoji and serve them up ads. And that's something that, also draw the attention of our team. And Rod's going to talk about why that made sense for one of our brands.
Of course. So when you think of brands, I mean, the good brands, right, they're usually, linked. They have a certain value. They have a certain, a meaning, and so when you think of them, you think of something. So you think of BMW, you think of luxury. You think of Coca-Cola, you think of joy. But few brands, they are so associated with the visual, right, with something, iconography. And in the case of Corona, it's the beach, it's the palm tree, it's the ocean, it's the waves. So for us, it felt natural when we got the memo saying, you know what, like now, you can, target with emojis to do something with it. So when they rolled the emojis and we had this whole list of emojis to choose from, we started, okay, which ones here are the emojis that we can definitely, again, it's the same principle of the imagery, what can we use here that it's linked to the Corona? And we landed on 7 of them, these 7 here, and we felt like, okay, let's do something with them. So every time somebody tweeted a message with a combination of these 7, it can be 1, 2, 3, or the 7 of them, we would send them, an animation, on Twitter that's customized to that particular, emojis that he used, plus 1 extra Corona emoji that we designed. So let's just say, Alex here, sent this message to, put this tweet with these 3, icons. Then she got this right after that. So again, this might look like a simple thing as a thought, but the production of this was quite, intense. So we did when you start thinking about the 7 and the combination, all the possible mixes and ways you can, combine them. It was quite a lot of work to do to create basically almost 100 unique animations. So what we learned, I think first thing is being first, right? So like I said, we got a memo from our, social media, department say guys, this just released. Any chance for us to do something here? And we work in tandem with them. We work in tandem with Twitter to be the first brand, of beer brand in that space.
Yeah, I mean, we get these full agency-wide updates of what's going on in the social space, and if it takes one reply for me, hey, wait, this emoji targeting thing, there's something there. And then getting the team to act super fast. It's pulling us into a conversation. Oh, easiest thing, a GIF. And then starting producing that.
What was the timeline like? How fast did it move?
I think this was a 2-week process, basically, between presenting and doing it. And again, it all falls on us to be quick, but also, it's a lot to do with a client that trusts you, and a client that goes you know what, let's give it a shot. I mean, being the first is not easy, right? It's not for everybody. So they trust us, and as you'll see, the results were pretty good. Extra caution. I mean, emojis, they might look, cool and everything, but they are fucking expensive. Learn this from us. We felt oh, no, it's cool. Let's use emojis. They're out there. They're up for grabs. No, they're not. It costs a lot of money. And we learned that the hard way because we made animations using, the iPhone's one, the Apple's one, thinking it was like, emojis are all the same. When we finished all of them and we were ready to release, we got the memo like, no, you cannot do that. You have to do something that it's, from Twitter, and you have to start all over again. So we had to redo all the animations because, it was Apple wasn't even like selling them. The amount was so huge that was not even feasible. So we had to redo everything again, and that delayed us a little bit on production. So if you go to the next one, you'll see the two examples of like, this is the one we did on the right, and that's the original one we had done on the left using the emojis from, Apple. So almost 100 animations done again. Next thing is like have a strong filter, like especially when it comes to targeting with something like this. I mean, obviously it's like 21 plus, right? It's cities, it's Hispanics. In that case, it was multicultural, so it was everybody. It was in English, but it was also like avoid curse words, like be smart about that. Like this guy wanted to have some fun, and he wrote like I eat babies, and put like this is real. And thank God, there was a filter that held it because it was pretty sure that this guy will like come back to us and go like, okay, yeah, thank you very much. I eat babies, and you guys are messing with us with Corona.
So many brands have made this mistake by doing, like when you do automated customization on Twitter, you don't know what people are tweeting out that you're turning it into creative. So I can't remember what brand they did
The
this.
Microsoft Twitter bot.
Oh, that was a crazy one where that one was supposed to learn from all of the people that interact with it on Twitter, and it ended up being like
A Nazi.
yeah, it ended up getting this personality of an evil like Nazi, and it would start tweeting out curse words because it was learning from its platform. And that's an example of like people will try to mess with you. The internet will try to mess with you. So just goes to show.
And this was like a 2-month campaign, and it started, a little bumpy, right? Like, did we have to course correct, and not all the emojis perform well, right? Basically, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we made hundreds because we had to make duplicates. Then we pushed out the almost 100 that we did, and when we started learning which ones performed well, we ended up cutting down so that what was out was everything that was best performing, which is a cool thing when you have like a 2-month promotion campaign. You can kind of slowly edit it as you're going along and making sure people are seeing what's already performing best.
Yeah, that's a little gallery of everything we did. But yeah, it was quite a lot of work. So being first is a great thing, like we said, right? Like you're starting, everybody's paying attention, and then innovation, pays off. But it's also a complicated thing when it comes to like people recognize it, like they want to mess with you, like we talked about. But also like when it comes to like the media, the press, they appreciate that you're being the first, but sometimes they don't get it. Like innovation is one of those things that is, it's kind of a new world. So sometimes we had like some pretty good, feedback from the press. Sometimes we had people who just didn't get it. It was just like a novelty. So they were like talking about it in the wrong way. They were not using it the right way or appreciating it for what it was. So you have to be open, for mixed reviews when you are the first person, and that's just the price that you have to pay for it. I think the results were pretty amazing. 1.4 million, 1 million views, 66 more than we projected. Again, this was a very small budget. I think we put like $50,000 behind this, which is nothing, And we got 1 million views, 66 more than what we projected. And the cost per view was, 0.05, which is way more efficient than what 0.8, right? 0.08 that we had. So again, it's been successful, and it's worked quite nicely for the brand.
Yeah, and just to give you some context, obviously this Twitter program was a lot smaller than the Verizon one, which was $30 and, 30 days and a lot of money. So give you an idea of like a big program and a small program where we were first to market, but we still had success in both. There were the risks, and we overcame them. But now we'd love to open up for Q&A. We have the team here ready to answer any questions about the production, strategy, approach. Let us know. Questions? Come on up.
Hi.
For the Facebook Live, now, a lot of brands are starting to get into it. We're trying to get into it more. Can you talk to me a little bit about production value and, it's supposed to look authentic, but what kind of elements can you add to it for it still to have some level of production value?
I mean, I would say locations are key because if you look at some of the Facebook Live brand and stuff, it looks really cheapy. We're able to be outdoors, indoors, and location is key. Casting is key, but you have to be super cautious, especially with this kind of client. This is a SAG, which is the Actors Union. You have to abide by that for this type of client. Be very careful. But I would just say, art direction, sometimes you're limited when you're this kind of world because you're so rushed. But these gals did an amazing job. Overall, I think to make it better, again, locations, casting, and having a good art director.
Yeah, I would add to it saying that casting is 50% of that. Because if the person is not good in camera or it hasn't something good to say or it doesn't bring something to it, it doesn't matter. Like, people don't care, so that's a big thing.
And
We
you
did
guys
also-
Oh, go ahead. So-
We did use microphone attachments, and we made sure that the lighting was enhanced where we could. So we treated even the live shoots like the pre-recorded, if we could do anything to enhance like the visual or the sound quality.
Okay.
One thing what you have to think about when you're doing Facebook Live with a director of photography is that in order for, let's say you're the talent, in order for you to see the Q&A, we have to press the button to flip it so you can see it.
Right.
So by doing that, you just have to plan it so that as you're flipping it, you don't see the director and the cameraman. So they basically have to be pretty thin and quick. So that was something we learned quickly that, wow, I got to go pay the director now because he was just on camera for 10 frames.
There was also something, it's not necessarily related to it, but it made me think of it, which was that delay that we had to play with for safety purposes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
There's like a 2-3 second delay when you're doing Facebook Live, and I was close by in case any catastrophic thing happened, ready to pull the plug. So that's helpful as well.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
and
oh, go ahead.
you could go ahead.
Oh, you guys decided to do some Facebook Live and some pre-recorded, I think. I understood that. How did you make that decision and why?
I think it had to do with casting sometimes and logistics, to be honest. We kind of prioritized the people that had the best to deliver in terms of content as being live. Also, obviously, like how many followers they had, even though, like I said, like a king doesn't bring richness. Sometimes for live it helps, of course. But that was kind of like, okay, who's going to give us the most interesting things? Like, like the Bedoya, right? The soccer player. Of course, let's make him live. He's not a camera guy, but yeah. Versus like, somebody who was more of like a smaller, like even interesting person, but like the firefighter. She's great, but I don't think she was a kind of a live person. On the other side, we had, like a pretty good chat, talking about diversity, and we made that live, even though it was like crazy, visual, but the content that we're talking about was live. So I think content was a big thing, and logistics obviously was the second part of that.
Content and also follower base. For live, it was really important to have people watching. So if they had their own fans, it really helped.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a while for like viewership to pick up, and that's why we were doing the live by live promotions. And that's why all the videos actually, this is like the one case where social media, you want a longer video because you want that viewership to accumulate.
But it's always surprising because when we went through results, one of our top performing live videos was Janelle of Ain't That Latina, and she pushed it out through her channels. She had maybe like 2,000, 3,000 like Facebook followers, and it was just a talk about diversity and finding yourself as an Afro-Latina, and that ended up being one of our top 3 performers, and we had huge influencers. So even those are 2 biggest factors. Sometimes it just, certain things just blow up and you can't really account for it. It's cool.
Was it a time of the day that was the best time, or what was that conversation?
Well, we have to be conscious of the fact that we can't go live at 9 a.m. East Coast time because nobody on the West Coast is going to watch it. So we tried to go in the afternoon when we're on the East Coast, and then about midday when we're on the West Coast. And regarding the question about how we chose who goes live, part of it is also just simple logistics. Some days we'd have to fly to LA, so we obviously can't be live that day, and a little bit of prep. So that played a little role because I worked on the calendar at least 100 times, and I'm not exaggerating. I can probably recite the 30 days right now if I had to.
Hello guys, my name is Carlos. I have a question related to the analytics part of the marketing area. Nowadays it's super important to know your demographics, your numbers, analyze them. Do you guys use like the individual tools, Facebook, Twitter, each company offers, or you use like one tool for all?
Yeah, so I can handle that one. And the question's about analytics. So this program was, solely on Facebook, and they were a partner. We had 30 days of calls every day with them. They were very involved, and one of the key pieces was a Facebook brand effects study. And we're actually getting the results today, but that's the kind of lift that we're talking about. We had the highest ad recall, and that was because we did a survey after the end of the campaign to see if there was a change in, had people remembered that they seen one of our spots or one of our videos. So we did a recall study afterwards, which was really important. And then the other analytics were all part of the Facebook Insights program. And then because it was paid, we partnered with our paid media agency, and they provided results on all the paid media performance as well. So those kind of three things.
Yeah, I mean, with those numbers, you got a huge return of investment in there.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the content is excellent, and I mean the shelf life of Facebook Live videos is not that long, right? Eventually it just hides under the scroll. So what's the future for the company investing this kind of money into producing a campaign like that? What is the end results once it disappears under the scroll? Are you guys putting it out on YouTube? Where is it going to live?
Oh, that's a good question. We're still talking to them, and we might do like a phase 2 or something like this. It will be a continuation of it. I think the videos are gonna leave it on Canvas, right, for a long. Yeah,
They live
that's
on
where
the
we host
Facebook,
it. Yeah.
on the Facebook page, like in the video library. They'll be there.
Okay.
But it's a great question. I mean, the idea for this was to be more of an awareness thing. We have it's not an awareness problem, but a brand association problem with this target. So it was really about connecting with them, with these influencers that they care about, and making that change and start. Like, this is the beginning of a relationship that we're trying to build. So it wasn't meant to be something that lives forever, but it meant to be like an introduction to the new Verizon for our target, basically.
It's funny that you're asking this question, because a big conversation we had when we were prepping for it, right? This is like weeks before. It was like where these videos are gonna live, right? We're like, oh man, are we creating a new page for it? No, we shouldn't be creating a new page. Are we creating putting this inside Verizon's page? No, it will be served via the influencers handles and all that. And then we decided, and that was recommended by Facebook, and we agreed to host the videos on Canvas, and Canvas became our mini page. So we had 4 units of Canvas, right? Every week we will wrap like what happened that week in a Canvas unit with the videos from that week, best of, behind the scenes, and all that good stuff, and some offers. So for us, it felt like a very good unit, and we have really good numbers coming from that, because it became kind of almost like a mini documentary of what happened that week, with some product, nicely infused in there. So we have 4 of those units, actually 5, because we have one after that comprises the whole campaign, and that's kind of where everything lives right now.
It's interesting. Oh, sorry. It's interesting because we took the hub and turned that into an ad in a way, because all of those Canvas units were then pushed out to our targets, and now I think we still should find a more permanent place for it all to live. But it's kind of cool that we made these like mini hubs and then use that as promoted posts just to keep promoting the campaign while it was going on.
Yeah, there was actually, we didn't get into it, but there was a few other phases to the program. Facebook Live was like the first piece, and we wanted to make it really easy for our consumers. We wanted to go right to them. And then, like they said, we used the Facebook Canvas unit, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's basically like having a microsite within an ad unit, and it's mobile only. So we aggregated the content each week into those. And then there's the third part of the program was retargeting. So obviously, because it's Verizon, we want to drive business. Everyone who saw our ad was then followed up, or saw the videos, was followed up with an ad, like showing off the new phone or a new offer. So there was from the awareness to trying to convert. So we had all those pieces.
Very cool. And do you guys think you started a little bit of a movement with that? Do you see the audience engaging in creating their own content, trying to replicate what you guys have done? You know, kind of like the ice bucket challenge when everybody was doing it because they saw like celebrities and, you know, the igniters doing it. Do you guys see a little bit of that for the Verizon from the audience members themselves?
I wish. I mean, that would be really
That's
cool.
the
I hope
goal.
so.
We've talked about having extensions like that from the very beginning. We're like, this type of content, and even the name, like Lo Mejor de Mí, the best of me, it incites action and incites showing off something. So if that were to, you know, we have got really good ad recall, if it were to spark an initiative to start something like that, maybe another platform might want to jump in on that, like
Right.
Snapchat.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm from Venezuela, so the economy for us, or the budget because of the economy, are really low for social media strategies. So I have a question or a curiosity, because how do you do, or what will you do to make a social media strategy with that just $500 or $600 for the campaign? What will you do?
I think that's a good question. You know, obviously we work
I
with...
know you are in Argentina. That's
We do have
similar, something.
yeah, we have an office in Argentina, right?
Okay.
I think, you know, these days pay to play is how social media has become. You know, it went from being organic to being like a paid media and very advertising heavy type platform. I think there's still opportunities for smaller brands, maybe partnering with an influencer, you know, somebody who is relatable to your brand that can help gain you some organic traction, because influencers, you know, and celebrities, and they have more organic reach than brands do. Facebook, you know, intentionally pushes that down, but maybe partnering with an influencer could help, you know, boost your audience and your reach. I think that's one way to approach it. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in the power of an idea, right? Last year we talked about ROI as being a result of interesting, and I strongly believe in that. I feel like innovation is a big part of being, you know, interesting today, right? Coming up with something nobody has done before, or being the first on doing so. But at the end of the day, it's the idea, you know, it's what do you do with it. So 600, 500, 300, 200, it doesn't matter. If you come up with a brilliant idea and it's like, you have a camera to do it in front of it, I mean, it's going to explode. I mean, look at, you know, the best YouTube hits. I mean, it probably costs like 5 cents to do it. So at the end of the day, for me, it's that, you know, it's a really good idea.
Yeah, from a production standpoint, you'd be surprised how many people, if they see a really good idea, they'll do it. Doesn't matter how much they want to have that for their reel. You know, they want to be able to build their reel better because they can do all the other standard commercials. But if you have a really good idea, you'd be surprised, from like a visual effects to music, sound design. People will, you know, chip in and help out. You just have to have the right connections, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is more of a legal question. Somebody mentioned that when you were filming, you had to blur faces and signs. How do you know? Because I see people filming all the time. And how do you know when to blur the faces or signs?
I'll leave that to the producer.
That's why they call me Officer Andy when I'm in that mode, and Uncle Andy when I'm in a good mood. So basically, we have a business affairs department. And when you have to deal with someone as big as Verizon, as opposed to like, say, you're just doing something for yourself, you don't have to worry about people coming after you. But when you have Verizon or a big brand, you have to abide by the rules. You can't have a big McDonald's sign in the background. You know, you can't mention some famous artist live. You just have to have these set of rules going in and, you know, abide by those, especially when we can blur people. Obviously, we can. We had like a day to do it. But when you're live, then I have to come in and say, hey guys, we can't shoot this live on a basketball court in New York City because there's no way I can get all these releases. People come and go, the talent releases. So we go to a gym that's more contained, where there's only like 2 to 3 people. So that's the reality of it.
Okay.
He broke his leg tackling people.
Getting releases.
Hi guys, my name is Marco, and I myself am trying to get a lot into video editing and graphic design and all these different things. I was just wondering, what is the main software programs that you guys use to create all this content?
For editing?
Premiere.
For like video editing, for example? Or
Mostly Premiere.
Just Premiere, right?
Yeah, Premiere.
After Effects and Premiere.
yeah, that's what I would assume. It's like the go-to for all these things.
And
Yeah,
live is just straight from Facebook Live,
Yeah,
and there's
you
no editing, and that's something you have to remember.
So the funny thing about Facebook Live, since it was new to all of us, we had access to this app called Pages, and they gave us access to the Verizon page, and that was super nerve-wracking because, you know, your fingers kind of like, wow, I'm about to go out to all the Verizon people, and of course they sent me to do it because, you know, the producer has to take the heat if need be. So I'm like shivering, kind of on the first time that we did it, but then we got used to it, and no, I didn't get fired, so that's good.
Yeah, it must be nervous when you're about to, like, start a feed for millions of people to watch.
Yeah, you see the 3, 2, 1, and you start sweating a little bit.
All right, cool, thank you.
Good luck to you.
Hi guys, my name is Manuela. So I really like the Facebook Live portion of the Verizon campaign, but I asked a similar question at the other panel, but I'd like to know your input. So I really like Facebook Live, and it's getting more momentum with each day that passes. But my question is, when we talk about millennials, I feel like millennials are more immediate. Like, we like the more immediate platforms, Vine, Snapchat. So what do you think? Like, do you think Facebook Live will really be appealing to the millennial audience? That's so...
Yeah, so to give a little clarification on how we approach our Verizon target, so millennials are 18 to 34. We targeted the older half, so the 25 to 34, and that one did make a lot more sense for something like Facebook. That's why we made Facebook like our key partner for this, because they have a lot of reach and for that specific target. But you're right, younger millennials are getting into things like Snapchat and things like that, for sure. I mean, what do you guys think?
No, this campaign could have worked on Snapchat. If that's what you're asking, it could have been in that platform. Period. We chose Facebook for all the reasons that he said, but also when you have Facebook as your partner, they come with so much intel behind the people and what they're doing and what their passions are. So this conversation, a big part of that beginning was when they came to us with a group with a segmented, Facebook audience. So they basically divided in 7 groups, 7 types of like blocks of Facebook users from the Hispanic community, and they all have very clear passions, very clear behavior. So what we did was we designed the people that, this basic content that we have, and we chose the people to basically appeal to this particular 7 groups. And then when we start like pushing the content out, we target to this 7. So there was a lot of intel, there was a lot of targeting there that kind of like made up for, that problem that you're putting out there.
Okay, right, because you can't do that with Snapchat.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Exactly.
Hi guys, my name is Sybil Matheson. I work for a brand that is going to do a Facebook Live with an influencer while cooking. So I don't know if you have any advice production-wise onto what tips I should do or what can I be prepared for that moment.
You said cooking?
Yes.
Okay, that's funny you mentioned that. So we had a chef from Miami, but he couldn't shoot in Miami, so we brought him to LA. One of the first things for a chef is his knives. It's an extension of him, right? So all along, Andy, don't worry, he's going to bring his knives. He's going to bring his knives. Okay, I need a backup plan, but I can't just buy any knives from, what do you call it? What was that place that said? Anyway, from a cutlery place, not just any knives. Bottom line, we go to shoot, he didn't bring the knives. We had somebody standing by at the store at 10 a.m. ready to buy some. I called him, we got him. But here's the thing, since he wasn't used to them, within 2 minutes, he cut himself pretty bad. So obviously have first aid kit nearby, but just a heads up, be careful. And I'll have someone standing by at a store, have a PA standing by, because you'll need bowls, all these little things, if you can.
Also prep what you can, depending on what they're making, and do a full run through to make sure how long it'll be, because even when you think you're testing it out, we didn't realize how long it took to really make something live.
Yeah, 1 dish is enough. Try not to do too much.
Yeah. So you recommend that to use a very short recipe with like small ingredients?
Have everything cut up already, the usual things, cut corners when you can.
Like have something fully prepared and show the preparation. Same way that you borrow the same techniques from a traditional cooking show where you like put it in the oven and then, it's ready. those are things that you can still bring into live. It's really important to cut down time where you can, because people will tune out. As many people as are coming in, there's also people leaving. So you want to...
How you keep them engaged though? Because I think that you told us that the first 8 minutes were like the most difficult ones, or to keep them engaged. So how do I keep them engaged while doing the Facebook Live?
I mean, just contributing to what they're saying. What I would do is I would do a big research to understand what kind of recipe will resonate with the people that you're going after. I would start with that. You know what I'm saying? And then from that, I would apply all those things. I think that's kind of key, and that was a big portion of our recipes, right? Like the donuts that we did, it wasn't just any donut, right? There was something there that was appealing to the audience. So I would go there. And I think the 8 minutes is live while live. So this was basically so we could start promoting after 8 minutes, right? So it's not that it starts only working after 8 minutes. It's just you can start promoting after 8 minutes. So we had to hold them up to that moment to go like, okay, now money, and then boom, the whole thing.
Okay, so promote another 3 minutes. Okay.
And
Thank you
then
so much,
one last thing,
Yes.
from a production standpoint, if this person is not as familiar with doing live, right, then it helps if they have someone that they know that's an assistant chef, because that's super helpful when you're actually doing it live, passing stuff around. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but it helps a lot.
Wait, one more thing. Food is really visual, so if you can bring the camera in close, show
Okay, yes, very
steps
close.
that are food porn.
Use glass, not plastic. With
Of
you
course.
make things look premium. It looks so much nicer. When we did the chef, we came in and all the glazes were in Tupperware, and we're like, no. We need
Pouring glass.
bowls. We need things that are pretty. So it
And
made a
last
big
question
difference.
though, the emojis, things that you showed in one of your Facebook Lives, how was it? Was it very engaging? Like, did it create great content with the comments that they have with your audience?
I mean, it just gives people something to comment on, whether it works or not, for him to be like, all right, guys, I have guava, I have passion fruit, I have this. What do you guys like best? People want to say something anyways. They want to feel involved. So now it gives them something to say. They're like, oh, that's guava. And you saw that thing come up, and just having them prompt questions is pretty good.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
All right, any more questions? Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. I hope you liked it. I want to say thanks to the social media team and everybody else. Thank you, guys. Oh, and also one last shout out. Raimi and Natalie are actually part of the team that designed all the artwork at Social Media Week. Dad and Thomas, if he's still here, are our studio team. So, and they're actually models as well. So, that's Raimi. That's Natalie.
By hand.
So, thanks a lot, guys.